What's up guys, it's Aaronitmar, and welcome back to another episode of Classic Mode Origins. It's time to tackle the Brawl newcomers, and like before, these are a bit of a mixed bag. Some of these themes are incredibly neat, you can tell that there was a lot of creativity put into them, and then some definitely feel like they are on a lower tier of creativity. But with making sure that you have hit that subscribe button, because funny number % of you guys aren't subscribed, let's go ahead and jump in. Meta Knight's route is titled Two Sides of the Same Coin. Each fight takes place against a pair of fighters where one fighter represents the good side and one represents the bad side. This is done to reference Meta Knight's role in the Kirby series, where he serves as both an ally and a foe. The first fight is against Link and Dark Link, an evil clone created to mirror Link. After that is a fight against Pit and Dark Pit, again an evil clone. Following that is a fight against two Captain Falcons, one in the default color and the other in the red color, which is based on Blood Falcon, an evil clone. You know, I think I'm starting to see a pattern here. Next is a fight that doesn't involve clones at all, but rather brothers. You fight against two Lucases, one of whom is using the alternate color that references Klaus, Lucas's twin brother. In Mother 3, Klaus serves as an antagonist, which completes the good-bad foil using twins rather than clones. But then of course we have to return to form with a fight against Samus and Dark Samus, who sort of evolved and took the form of Samus thanks to bits of her DNA. You know, it's a lot to get into, but she's just a weird, evil, alien version of Samus. The penultimate fight is against two Meta Knights, but the skins they use are very important. The first skin represents Galacta Knight, who is Meta Knight's ultimate rival in the entire Kirby series. The other is Dark Meta Knight, an evil mirror world copy of Meta Knight. This time, rather than the two opponents being related to each other, each individual opponent could be the other side of a coin to Meta Knight himself. It gets meta, you could say. Finally, we end off with Master and Crazy Hand for the boss, which at least makes sense based on the theme, since the two hands could be seen as two sides of the same coin. But fighting Marks would have been way cooler. Next, let's talk about the protagonist of Kid Icarus, Pit. Pit's classic mode is called Fighting for the Goddess, naturally referring to Palutena. The Japanese name is Purify the Swarming Evil. The general theme the route follows is defeating dark or evil enemies, and along the way we get some fun references to Kid Icarus Uprising, Pit's most recent game, and a game that Sakurai himself directed. The first fight is against Dark Samus, who is just a general evil baddie, but it could also reference the fight against Dark Lord Gaul. Gaul is revealed to be a woman underneath all of the armor, and Samus too had that kind of mystery around her in her early years. And I know Dark Samus isn't actually Samus or even really human, but it just makes sense for them to take an evil entity and use Dark Samus rather than regular Samus. It just kind of works in many ways. Second up is a fight against Bowser and Bowser Jr., who are just kind of standard bad guys. Third, a fight against Ganondorf. This is a reference to a fight against Magnus, and it even uses Magnus's theme for the fight to further cement that. Next is a fight against Dark Pit, because what else would you expect? Then we have a fight against Bayonetta. This is of course a reference to the fact that Bayonetta's whole goal in her games is to kill angels, so Pit must defend himself when she comes to attack. This was even touched on in Bayonetta's reveal trailer for Smash for 3DS and Wii U, so this being a part of the classic mode is a nice callback to both that trailer and Bayonetta's game as a whole. Then we have a fight against Palutena herself, which is a reference to when she was controlled by the Chaos Kin. Dark Pit appears as an ally CPU in this fight, referencing the fact that he kinda teams up with Pit around this point of Kid Icarus Uprising. The boss fight is again against Master and Crazy Hand, referencing this time the fight against Hades and his just sheer size. Dark Pit is once again a CPU ally, referencing Dark Pit assisting Pit during this point of the game as well. Now let's move on to Zero Suit Samus. This classic mode is titled Grapplers, Whips, Claws, and in Japanese, Master the Wire. The route focuses on characters who have tethers or long-range weaponry. The first fight is against Young Link and Toon Link, both of whom use the hookshot as their grab and as a potential recovery option. Next is Ivysaur, who of course has Vine Whip for an up special. Dark Samus follows, who has the grapple beam for her grab and recovery. And of course it makes sense for Zero Suit Samus to be fighting Dark Samus. Next up we have Yoshi, who doesn't have a tether recovery, but does have a long-ass tongue to use for grabs. Simon and Richter are up next, who both wield the Vampire Killer Whip. And lastly is the real oddball out, which is a team of 6 Little Macs. Unfortunately, this is kind of a fight that has some funny wordplay involved in Japanese that we really miss out on in English. The title of the route is Master the Wire, and it takes this super literally when it comes to Little Mac, as both forms of the wireframe Mac are used in this fight. And the boss is Master and Crazy Hand. Boring. Wario's classic mode is titled I'm a gonna win, but in Japanese its name is My Super Strength is Number 1. The English name is just one of Wario's catchphrases, so the actual theme of the route actually comes to us from the Japanese. All of the fights here are the characters who use strong attacks, so they coincidentally end up being some of the heavier characters in the game. First is a fight against Ganondorf, and anyone who's been hit by one of his F-smashes knows that they hit hard. Next is a rogue Charizard, followed by Ike. And then we have a pair of kings back to back, King Dedede followed by King K. Rool. And lastly, a fight against Incineroar, who is the newest of the base roster heavyweights. And then Master and Crazy Hand. Snake's classic mode is Weapons and Equipment OSP, or in Japanese, you're equipped, there's no worries. The OSP in the English title stands for On-Site Procurement, which is a reference to the style of gameplay found in Metal Gear, where Snake must collect the weapons and gear that he's going to use during the actual mission. Naturally, this mode is all about characters who use equipment or projectiles to fight, just as Snake does. On top of that, all of the items in each fight are reminiscent of weapons that Snake might use, such as projectile-based weapons or explosives. First up is a fight against a male and female Inkling who use weapons for all of their moves. Next is Diddy Kong, who uses bananas as a projectile, but also more notably has a pop gun that shoots peanuts. I don't think that was ever in any Metal Gear Solid game. Pit is up next, who has a magical bow and arrow, which Snake can't say he's ever used either. And then you knew this next one would be here, Link, who uses all sorts of projectiles and equipment throughout his whole moveset. Next is a horde battle against 2 Samuses and 2 Robs, who are notorious projectile users. On top of this, having a horde of mech-like opponents is definitely a reference to the Metal Gear part of Metal Gear Solid. In the series, a Metal Gear is a nuclear-equipped walking tank, so Samus and Rob were chosen very intentionally and were meant to be an allusion to the Metal Gears. The penultimate fight is against another Snake, which is meant to be a reference to Les Enfants Terribles, a US government project that created clones of the soldier known as Big Boss. Solid Snake himself is a clone of Big Boss, and there have been other clones such as Liquid Snake. The final boss fight is against Gallium, which is appropriate as he uses giant rockets and explosives to attack. He himself could also somewhat resemble a Metal Gear, but actually to size this time. Ike's classic mode is titled The Black-Clad Warriors, a pretty straightforward theme. Ike's ultimate villain in his games is the Black Knight, so this route has Ike take on characters using their black or dark skins. First is a Kirby-themed fight against Dark Meta Knight and a Meta Knight-colored Kirby. After that is a fight against Morton, who is the darkest Koopaling, Black Greninja, and Black Sonic. The song that plays here is also a reference, Night of the Wind, which comes from one of Sonic's games, Sonic and the Black Knight. Cute little reference there, both Ike and Sonic have fought against the Black Knight. Ike then takes on Dark Pit, followed by Bayonetta, and then a giant Mr. Game & Watch. The final real fight is against Dark Link and Toon Link, because of course it is. And then Master and Crazy Hand are also there, but alright, moving on from there. Pokemon Trainer's classic mode is called the Future Champion, a reference to becoming the champion of a given region in the main series Pokemon titles. Naturally, each fight is against a different Pokemon. The fights are against Pikachu, Jigglypuff, Lucario, Incineroar, and Greninja. The second to last fight is against an opposing Pokemon trainer, representing trainer battles in the Pokemon series. Lastly is a fight against Mewtwo, who is in general seen as a real big bad boss Pokemon, but who is definitely the most appropriate choice for this classic mode. After defeating Mewtwo, it morphs into a final fight against Master Hand. No comment. Diddy Kong's classic mode route is titled Hey Little Buddy. This comes from Diddy Kong's role in the first Donkey Kong Country and other games moving forward as Donkey Kong's little sidekick. The actual title of the classic mode comes from the manual for Donkey Kong Country and a phrase from the Donkey Kong Country TV show. Each fight has him serve as the little buddy to a prominent Nintendo character as they take on a villain from their franchise. First, he teams up with Mario to take down Bowser and Bowser Jr., taking on Ridley and Dark Samus next with Zero Suit Samus. Then he fills in for Link to defeat Ganondorf alongside Zelda. He's Pokemon Trainer's secret 4th Pokemon in a fight against Mewtwo. Then he beats Meta Knight and Dedede with Kirby. Lastly, he fights King K. Rool, his own series boss, alongside Donkey Kong, emulating the final fight from Donkey Kong Country. He also then takes on Master and Crazy Hand with Donkey Kong as well. Lucas's classic mode is titled Magic, Sacred Powers, and PSI. Lucas will take on all sorts of characters who have magical abilities, just like he does. Starting off, we have a fight against Ness, his fellow PSI user and a Mother Series resident. After that, you have a fight against both default Robins, who are notable magic users, followed by Rosalina, who uses a magic wand and has all kinds of inexplicable powers. Lucas then takes on a goddess in a fight against Palutena, and then a different kind of goddess against Bayonetta. Lastly is a fight against Mewtwo, rounding it all off with a Master and Crazy Hand fight in the end. It's time to go at the speed of sound with Sonic's appropriately named Classic Mode. Each fight in this route represents a different character or theme from Sonic's long history in gaming. Along the way, some of these characters are also among the fastest in Ultimate. The first fight against Fox references Miles Tails Prower, Sonic's little fox sidekick who's been a mainstay in the Sonic series for decades. Fox is also the 6th fastest in the game. Following that is a fight against Captain Falcon. This fight offers several references. First is that Captain Falcon is the 2nd fastest in the entire game, losing out to only Sonic himself. But Captain Falcon is also from a racing game, and Sonic is no stranger to those. Sonic R is a racing game released in 1997. However, unlike Captain Falcon's games, Sonic R sees the characters all run around a track rather than race in vehicles. The song chosen for this fight, Supersonic Racing, was also created specifically for Sonic R, and is considered by many to be the game's theme song. Next up is a fight against a giant Metal Sonic. This one is obvious, as the enemy Metal Sonic is a recurring one throughout the series, but since Metal Sonic isn't in the game as an actual character, they simply made a Metal Sonic. The song and stage combination could also be a reference to the boss fight against Chaos Zero in Sonic Adventure. The next fight sees Sonic fight a yellow, blue, and red Kirby. This is a reference to Sonic Heroes, a game that had a notable gameplay mechanic. The player controlled 3 characters that formed a team, and each served a different role. These roles were signified by colors in the top right: speed for blue, flight for yellow, and power for red. So these Kirbys represent that trio that happens in Sonic Heroes. The song furthers this by being the Sonic Heroes theme song, and the stage could even be a reference to Final Fortress, the final level of the game. The next fight features Sheik on Mushroomy Kingdom. This reference isn't as clear right away, but we need to look no further than the song. The song 7 Rings in Hand comes from Sonic and the Secret Rings, which features a desert Arabian-style setting. So having Sonic fight Sheik on a desert area makes sense, even if there's no clear connection between the two. Sheik is also the 4th fastest character in Ultimate. And finally, we have a fight against a giant Incineroar on Windy Hill Zone. This fight references Sonic Lost World, with Incineroar himself standing in for Zavok, the leader of the Deadly Six, and then Master and Crazy Hand. After that doozy of references, we're moving on to King Dedede, who has a short and sweet classic mode. This is titled Royal Rumble, and it features characters who are all royalty or who have royal nicknames. First up is a fight against King K. Rool, which is obvious. Then a fight against Marth and Roy. Marth is known as the Hero Prince, while Roy is likewise royalty. Next is a bunch of princesses with a fight against Princess Zelda, followed by Princesses Peach and Daisy. Then we have a fight with Bowser and Bowser Jr. Bowser is the king of the Koopas, which I guess technically makes Bowser Jr. the prince of the Koopas. Finally, a fight against Ganondorf, who is king of the Gerudo, king of darkness, the king of evil. You know, he's got a few. And we finish up with the 2 kings of Smash Classic Mode, King Master Hand and King Crazy Hand. Next up is our boy Olimar. This classic mode is called Planetary Explorer, and as it suggests, has Olimar fight various space-themed fighters. The route starts with a fight against Mario and Rosalina, referring to their space exploration in Super Mario Galaxy. Following that is a fight against Wolf, who is a space pirate. Kirby and King Dedede are next, though this is a free-for-all, and the two will actually target each other, coming from their early relationship in the first Kirby games. Zero Suit Samus is next, then followed by Fox and Falco. Lastly is a fight against Alf, or if you're playing as Alf, a fight against Olimar, to prove their dominance over the other. And yet another fight against the Hands. Lucario's classic mode is called Counter Encounters. This is fairly straightforward. This features fighters who all have counters as a part of their movesets, just like Lucario does. First is a fight against Shulk and Little Mac. Then Palutena and Bayonetta, kind of an odd pairing. Marth and Lucina are up next, and then a Mii Sword Fighter Horde battle. One of the possible moves for Sword Fighter's down special is a counter, so all of these Miis have that move. They also all feature full character costumes rather than a sort of mishmash as we've seen before, including the Yiga clan, Takamaru, Isaac, Dunban, Black Knight, and Vince. The next fight is against Roy, Ike, and Corrin, before it all comes to a head with Lucario taking on his fellow Pokemon, Greninja. Oh, and the hands. Robert the Robot is up next with his classic mode entitled Unreadable Expressions. Every character in this mode either has some kind of obstruction blocking their face or just a blank face entirely. The first fights are against Meta Knight, who wears a mask, and then Dark Samus, who has a full power suit on and is completely concealing their true form. Next up is a team of Mr. Game & Watches, who have no face, and then Wireframe Mac, who sidesteps the issue entirely by basically not even having a head. Then we have a fight against both Wii Fit trainers, and while they have a very blank face in Ultimate, it actually used to be way worse in Smash 4. And lastly is a horde of 6 Robs, who are obviously robotic and have no facial expressions. And it all ends off with a fight against Gallium, who has a kind of face mask on. I guess he was ahead of everyone because he knew what was coming. Toon Link's classic mode is titled The Teamwork of Courage. Throughout all of the fights in this route, Toon Link fights alongside 2 other Toon Links. This comes to us from The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, a game in which the player controls 3 split-up Toon Links, or alternatively teams up with friends, each one controlling a different Toon Link. The colors used here are very intentional as well, as if you play as the default color, you complete the trio of green, red, and blue, which are the colors of the default Toon Links in Triforce Heroes. As far as the fights in this route go, the team of Toon Links just simply take on a team from various universes in the Nintendo gaming lineup. First is a fight against Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Yoshi. Then a fight against the Animal Crossing reps, Villager and Isabelle. Next we have a team of 3 Robs, followed by all 3 Pokemon from the Pokemon Trainer. A fight against 4 of the Inklings follows, all coming to a head against a giant Ganondorf. The boss fight then links to the final real fight, which is against Ganon, which still keeps the 2 partner Toon Links with you. And the final character from Brawl is Wolf. Wolf's classic mode is titled Reunited Roster, and it sees Wolf fight against many characters that were cut in previous Smash games before returning together in Ultimate. The first fight is against Ice Climbers, who were cut from Smash for 3DS and Wii U for hardware limitations on the 3DS version of the game. Next up is Young Link, who was cut from Brawl because he was presumably replaced with Toon Link for both Brawl and Smash 4. Pichu is the next fighter, who debuted in Melee but was cut from Brawl onward. 2 connected fights are up next, with Wolf taking on Squirtle, followed by Ivysaur. Both of these characters were cut from Smash 4 for similar hardware limitations as Ice Climbers. However, Charizard is of course notably missing because he himself was promoted to a solo fighter in Smash 4. The final regular fight is against Snake, who also debuted in Brawl but was missing from Smash 4, but likely more for copyright reasons than anything else. The boss of this route is Gallium, who also fits the theme by debuting in Brawl, being missing from Smash 4, and returning in Ultimate. And that is going to do it for this episode of Classic Mode Origins. I would love to know down in the comments what your favorite reference was from these different Classic Mode routes, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time, peace out, and please remember to be good to one another.